Within the hip-hop and love circles, the tension has officially burst. And this time, it goes beyond merely throwing shade at the camera. Drama of this type seems too unpolished to be staged. There have been rumors circulating behind the scenes. Nobody anticipated the battle that has now erupted between them. During an off-camera encounter, Mendeecees reportedly went straight to Sierra, following her startling assertion that Yandhi might be concealing a child that is related to another cast member. With emotions running high, the room became silent. Sierra, who never backs down, said that she had receipts and stood by her accusations. Catching Yandhi in the middle, he was clearly shaken, and the cast watched in shock. The atmosphere was regarded as explosive by insiders, security scurrying in, people yelling, and producers frantically determining what could even be broadcast. Is this just another marketing trick? Or did Sierra truly touch a nerve too deep for TV? Fans are in disbelief. The conflict between Sierra and Mendeecees has undoubtedly moved the season into uncharted terrain, and the fallout may be more extensive than anyone anticipated. Long before a voice was spoken, the night had been filled with soft murmurs. However, when Mendeecees finally confronted Sierra with the baby accusation, the atmosphere broke like a piece of glass. There was only unadulterated emotion leaking out in all directions. There was no music or prepared sentence to diffuse the tension. The room became so quiet, according to insiders, that even the cameras were reluctant to continue filming. Mendeecees' normally cool, collected voice took on a harshness that made people standing close tremble as he locked eyes with Sierra. She knew exactly how hard his family had battled to stay together, so he asked her why she would dare to spread such rumors and target them. Sierra is a person who never folds. Refused to give in and straightened her shoulders when pressed. Despite being the first to say it aloud, she maintained that she wasn't the only one speaking and that discussions had been taking place off camera for months. No one could wave the words secret child away. They hung in the air like smoke, with their eyes wandering between Sierra, who appeared intent on doubling down on her, and Yandhi, who was shivering in her seat. The cast members shuffled uneasily, uncertain whether to step in or remain back. Statements. "You pretend that I made something up." With a tone full of defiance, Sierra yelled, "But people know. There have been murmurs. If you believe that I am the only person who has heard about this, you're telling yourself lies." As she attempted to defend herself, Yandhi's hands gripped together and her voice faltered as she reminded everyone that she had always stood up for her marriage and that she had given up her personal peace to protect her family. But her words didn't, according to insiders. Producers were in a panic, whispering to each other about whether to cut the feed or let it roll, knowing that this kind of drama could send ratings soaring. However, security hesitated, knowing that stepping in too soon might only make the situation spiral further out of control. Sierra interrupted her right away, demanding to know why Yandhi always got so defensive whenever Mendeecees' name came up in rumors. The tension was unbearable. People shouted, voices overlapped, and in the midst of all of this, Mendeecees' expression hardened as if he had reached his breaking point. "You don't bring my family into this," he warned, his voice rising above the chaos. Fans who later saw leaked snippets made it difficult to believe what they saw. The clip was grainy, but it was clear that Sierra was waving her phone in the air, claiming she had proof. "Whatever problem you're having, you dare bring my children into your mess, but deal with it." Sierra grinned, not to be intimidated. "Then why are people saying things you don't want to hear?" she replied. "It's possible that what you're trying to conceal is the issue, not me." The noise level in the room exploded at that cue. The actors let out a gasp. Some moved forward to support Mendeecees, who appeared to be about to lash out, while others hurried to console Yandhi, who was clearly inconsolable. Insiders reported seeing tears in her eyes and hearing her voice crack as she repeatedly stated that it was all untrue. She claimed to be astounded by the amount. The fact that her children were being forced into headlines they didn't request was disrespectful, and it wasn't just about her anymore. One cast member's whisper, loud enough to be heard, nevertheless, changed the atmosphere. What if Sierra has something after all? What happens if she isn't bluffing? The room was now filled with doubt, so those comments were more powerful than a fist. The glimmer of interest in their eyes was visible to even Yandhi's supporters. When Sierra claimed to have receipts, what precisely did she mean? And when everyone else was crumbling, why did she appear so As soon as word spread about the altercation, social media went into overdrive, with supporters of H-Team Yandhi and K-Team Sierra split into two fervently devoted factions. The hashtag quickly became popular. Every frame of old tape was being examined, and people were looking for clues. Going back to previous interviews where Yandi might have fumbled a question, or instances where Sierra and Mendeecees exchanged words that now appeared dubious, the web didn't wait for verification. Each minute that went by elevated the story. However, the combat continued inside the room. While some members of the cast pleaded with Sierra to stop, she persisted despite the hurtful nature of her statements. She mocked Yandi, stating that no matter how well she portrayed herself on television, the truth always managed to surface. She insisted that she would not be silenced. She spat, "You can't hide forever," in a piercing tone. "You built this whole perfect wife act, but everybody got skeletons. And when yours finally come out, people are going to see who you really are." Yandi's serenity snapped. She responded with a trembling yell of rage, saying that she had devoted herself fully to her marriage and that she was fed up with people doubting her loyalty. There was a line she could never cross by bringing her kids into this. Sierra just chuckled and shook her head, as though she knew more than she was admitting. So even though her words were honest and passionate, they just served to fan the flames. According to friends and family who later discussed the incident, despite years of reality TV drama, they had never seen Yandi so shaken. Her head had always been up. This time, however, the agony in her eyes spoke a narrative that words could not. Her voice trailed off, and her shoulders drooped. Mendeecees, however, had trouble maintaining control, whispering that she should remain composed. He drew her near. However, his own endurance was waning. He sought clarification, not only for himself, but to put an end to the rumors that were getting out of their control. Sierra, however, leaned further into her assertions the more he pressed. He is challenged to call her bluff by her sly smile. Someone's phone sounded an alert at the very moment when the shouting peaked, a high-pitched tone that was like a razor cutting through the cacophony. The tension felt like the air had been drawn out of the room, and everyone stopped for a moment. During that quiet moment, Sierra cocked her head and murmured, "You don't want me to show what I've got, trust me." Her tone had become calm and almost mocking. More than anything she had ever spoken, it landed heavy. It was impossible to overlook the conviction in her eyes and the weight in her tone, even for those who believed she was bluffing. Additionally, it wasn't only Yandi defending her marriage for the first time. The whole ensemble came to the realization that everything they believed to be true about the couple may be destroyed if Sierra actually had proof. Once more, the room hummed with whispers from the actors, some of whom were telling her to stop before she went too far. However, Sierra only waited for someone to confront her more while keeping her arms folded and her face unflinching. The conflict had now taken on a more sinister tone. It was more than a fight, it was a test of whose truth would be accepted, who would lose control, and who would crumble first. Everyone in the room realized that the night was far from over as Mendeecees tightened his hold on Yandi's hand while she brushed away her tears and glared. During her live session, Sierra started answering comments directly, which further piqued fans' interest. When people kept questioning who owned the child, Sierra simply grinned a little and said that the truth would eventually be revealed. She was accused of causing needless drama by several fans. She seemed to be holding on to something substantial, though, based on her tone and facial gestures, as though she were clutching indisputable evidence. An insider blog revealed yet another shocking revelation just when everyone believed things couldn't get any wilder, asserting that Sierra has screenshots of private conversations saved. Those exchanges between Yandi and a male cast member appeared dubious to them, full of clues that pointed to something more than friendship. The murmurs swiftly became roars on social media. The questions were the same for everyone. Could this be, was it real, or was it just another ridiculous ploy to attract attention? According to the blog, the screenshots were real, and if they were made public, they might totally change the perception of Yandi. This was no longer only about on-screen rivalries or trivial disputes. This concerned a potential indiscretion, and a youngster who might completely alter the love and hip-hop plot. No time was wasted by the media. Timelines were flooded with headlines promising that Yandi's secret was soon to be revealed. Fan bases soon became divided into two factions, one group vehemently defending Yandi, yelling while the opposing side maintained that smoke always indicates fire. It was defamation and clout chasing. Because of the intense internet tension, even unbiased fans were drawn into contentious discussions and began to speculate and examine every hint. When a little audio clip appeared online, however, the situation took a completely different turn. The source of the voice was unknown, but it was said to be the same in the rumors. A male cast member was mentioned. He uttered something ambiguous on the audio about not wanting the world to know and wanting to keep matters private for the benefit of all parties. The video was only under 20 seconds long, yet it was enough to throw fans into a frenzy. Was this the final affirmation that everyone has been anticipating? Maybe that was just another shrewd edit designed to cause trouble. Ciara again alluded to the fact that she had additional evidence hidden away, seeing the ideal chance to maintain the focus on herself. She said she was under pressure to remain silent behind the scenes. However, it sounded as though she wouldn't be quiet for long. Watchers of her live chat went bananas, saturating the comment box with requests for her to tell the truth immediately. Rather, she assured them that time was crucial and that no one would be able to claim otherwise once she revealed the whole truth. The public started to hear backstage rumors, and it was said that the producers were in a panic. A scandal of this magnitude could either entirely ruin reputations or cause ratings to soar, and no one in authority seemed to know how to handle it. According to several sources, discussions about whether to quiet Ciara or allow her to spill everything on camera for maximum drama erupted during production meetings. Yandhi, meanwhile, said nothing in response to the circulating accusations. However, admirers began to question whether she was concealing something, and that quiet only served to fan the flames. Every online post she made, whether it was about her job, family, or simply just motivation quotations, received a barrage of responses requesting clarification. It was impossible to ignore the fractures that were beginning to appear as the strains surrounding her continued to increase. Even worse, paparazzi were able to take pictures of Yandhi and the same male cast member exiting a restaurant. It might have been a harmless supper, but the time gave the impression that everything being spoken was confirmed. Hashtags pertaining to Yandhi's purported affair dominated the trending charts as soon as the images became viral. Even those who had defended her in the past began to wonder if they had been wrong. At this point, the plot had all the makings of a disastrous reality TV show, covert partnerships, a potential concealed child, friend betrayal, and the possibility that everything could fall apart in front of millions of people. No longer were fans merely amused. They had an investment. Every turn, every conflict, every heartfelt admission, they wanted to see it all. And they knew in their hearts that the truth will be revealed regardless of how assiduously anyone buried it. The whole cast was struggling by the conclusion of that hectic week. Alliances started to gradually change behind closed doors. Some of Yandhi's supporters began to turn away out of concern that they might be pulled into the whirlpool. Attempts were made by others to exploit the situation by contacting bloggers and making references to more unmade secrets. It resembled a cascade of events. Everything was falling apart immediately after the first piece fell. As the rumors intensified, Ciara made one final startling declaration: "The world thinks it's just about drama. But when you find out who's been hiding the truth and why, your entire view of this show will never be the same again," she said, staring straight into the camera during another live session. Her words left fans speechless, and the comments section erupted with supporters pleading with her to stop prolonging the situation. However, she abruptly cut the live stream, leaving everyone suspenseful and eager to see what would happen next. Afterward, every part of the room was alive with hypotheses that spread like wildfire, and the space became colder as the murmurs increased in number. Ciara's assertions had rocked their world to its foundation. However, what followed started to conflate rumors with facts. It looked uncertain to some who had before dismissed the notion of Yandhi concealing a child. One incorrect glance and one silent hesitancy were enough to sow distrust further. The use of screenshots and receipts was no longer sufficient. It had to do with the aura of secrecy Yandhi exuded, the kind that left one wondering what she could actually conceal. Still mute Yandhi seems to think that if he denied everything, it would somehow disappear. However, her inaction took the opposite action. The loudest shout in the reality TV cosmos was silence. Ciara's words gained weight as a result of her refusal to clap back and to fight fire with fire. Every old clip, interview, and live broadcast was examined by fans who were looking for hints. And, as if fate were trying to fan the flames, old video of Yandhi interrupting a question in the middle and her eyes flashing tensely when the interviewer inquired about her family reappeared. As all of this was happening, Ciara leaned farther into the confusion. Her posts were cryptic, one-liners full of suggestion and vitriol. She wrote one evening, "Secrets never stay buried," and included a black and white picture of herself grinning. The internet became viral. Did she have anything else to say? Or was she just bluffing? Those who had doubts about her started to change their minds. Since nobody maintains behind the cameras, the actors said to one another, double down unless they know they can win the war. By accusing Yandi of something that could ruin not only her reputation, but also her family. Some people thought Sierra had gone too far. Others, on the other hand, were too intrigued and captivated by the drama, secretly wishing the story was real because it would make the season one to remember. The alliances started to change. Those who had previously been close to Yandi began to distance themselves from him out of fear of being caught in the blast radius should the truth come to light. And then the most startling turn of all. The network may have been aware of a delicate plotline involving Yandi for years, but decided to keep it off-screen to save her reputation, according to a note sent by one of the producers who had been hiding in the background of this fight. All at once, this was more than just rumors.